And at this time, we will invite Ed Hauser once again to bring special music for us.
The men will do theirs.
Oh,
do this first.
we're singing
Okay,
first.
then, yeah, all right.
Okay. Okay.
We'll see if it still plays after it fell over up here. Another Mother's Day song. I think for most all of us, when we were children, there was nothing more comforting than when we skinned a knee or pinched a finger to have our mother pick us up in her arms, hug us and tell us things will be okay. As time went on in life, all of us, I think, had that sort of a special relationship with our mother, especially boys. Later on, Sir Paul McCartney wrote a song where he referenced his mother. The line of the song, first line, went, "When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Just let it be."
The reading today is going to be from Proverbs 31:10-31, in an NIV version. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it's still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff that grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he sets his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction to her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you suppress them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. This is the word of God for the people of God.
Once again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and grandmothers. And I know y'all aren't tired of hearing that today, and hopefully you'll hear it many more times today. Before I get started, I've had some compliments on my tie today, and the reason I'm wearing purple is because that was my mother's favorite color. So that's why I'm wearing this today. I'm going to start off with a fishing story. On the lake one day, there was a fisherman out fishing. And in honor of Mother's Day, I'm going to say that she was a mother. Has no permanent importance to the story. But her type of fishing was unorthodox. She would take dynamite and strike the dynamite. She would throw it overboard. And when it exploded percussion, any fish in the area would come to the top, and she'd take her fishing net and scoop it up. And she did that 2 or 3 times. And it wasn't long before the game warden knew what was going on. So out to the boat he went and went up to her and says, "Ma'am, I'm sorry." He said, "What you're doing is illegal. I'm going to have to write you a ticket." So she never looked up, never said a word. She just reached down, grabbed a stick of dynamite, lit it, and threw it into the game warden's boat and said, "Now are you going to write me a ticket or are you going to go fishing?" And I've classified fishing as 2 types of fishing. Dynamite's not one of them. The first type of fishing I call, which the Barcos did, was frapping. That's when we would take the cane pole, and when we were fishing, take the end of the frape and frap the water to draw the attention to the fish. And they would think it was a frenzy of fishing or feeding or whatever, and it worked most times. And then the second one is a silent fisherman, which the Saunders side of the family, my Uncle Ralph one day, which was my mother's brother, wanted me to take him fishing. Now, he's a silent fisherman, so when we went out in the boat, it was a calm day. We never didn't talk. We just sit there. They weren't scared of fish, and I was even afraid to even breathe at times. And we did not catch any fish. So That was the last time he asked me to take him fishing. Not only did Mother love to fish, but she also liked and loved to hunt, but she didn't have time to do it because we had a hunting lodge for over 30 years, and we were busy taking men out during the day guiding. But one slack day, my daddy finally decided to take my mother hunting. So they went out, and my dad set up the blind and everything. He said, well, Norma says, when the first either ducks or geese come in, so I'm going to let you have the first shot, and I'll back you up. So after a while, it weren't long for 2 geese comes fluttering in right there over the decoys. And he said, all right, honey, take them. So she goes up there, go boom. And there lay 2 dead geese in the water. Needless to say, my dad never took her hunting anymore. Mothers, nowadays, they have job and employment opportunities other than their normal family duties of taking care of their children, such as secretaries, cooks, retail clerks, bus drivers, real estate agents, doctors, nurses, teachers, and even CEO of large corporations, just to mention a few. My mother was a good nurse. I was always getting scrapes and bruises and cutting, and so she would take care of it. I don't know if any of y'all ever recognized there was 2 antiseptics she used. One was metholate and the other was mercurochrome. Oh, so y'all have heard. And it burned. Not only did it burn, but it was an orange, reddish color, and it would stay on your skin for 3 or 4 days, sort of like eating the dyed pistachio nuts. It took you forever to get the red off. Anyway, it would burn, and so Ed was talking about the finger, pinching finger. Well, I cut my finger one day. Well, that was just one of many accidents I had. And so here comes Mother with the metholate or mercurochrome. She started to apply. I said, well, Mother, I said, now, when you apply it, I said, I want you to blow. And so she said she would. And I said, all right, blow. She said, harder, harder. And then she would kiss it, and it would get better. I know y'all wouldn't think of my mother as being an attorney, but she was sort of a self-appointed attorney. And unfortunate for me, she was a prosecuting attorney. And not only that, also judge and jury. So I spent many a time in my bedroom without TV, locked in, and had quiet time until she finally let me out on good behavior. My mother also loved to work in the yard. She was a gardener. She used to, with the flower beds, she even would cut her grass. And I'm going to mention a lady that very few here know, Becky and I, and a couple others, Sheila, Margaret Dowdy. She was a longtime resident here, and she lived on this 2-story house right on the other side of McDonald's. Just about every day that I went by that house, she was out in the yard on her hands and knees, and in her late years, working in the flower bed. And I think she was, she was never married, and I don't like to use the word old maid, but she was never married, but she was a mother figure to us here at church. And she lived to be 86 years old, and I believe she worked up in her yard until the last days, probably. My mother worked hard too, and when we first moved from the first home that we lived in to the hunting lodge, unfortunately, a lot of the grass that we had were sand spurs, and they'd go back like that, and then the sand spur at the end. And she would go out every day just about with a hoe and a wheelbarrow, hoeing, trying to hoe all those sand spurs out. And even her father, my grandfather, Ellie Saunders, would come and help her. And he spent, I don't know how many hours he spent, but anyway, it was a grueling job to do. And matter of fact, a couple of friends and mine, a couple of times we would actually go out and have a sand spur fight. An activity I suggest you not take up unless you like to pull out sand spurs out of your clothes and your skin for 2 or 3 hours. But finally, my father came up with a solution. He planted centipede grass, and it grew and choked out the sand spurs. So, but she spent many an hour in the yard trying to get rid of those sand spurs. On March 19th, 1993, my dad, at the age of 73, passed away. Mother was able to cope without him being there for quite a while, and I was close by, and I would kind of take care of her, but over a period of time, her health started to dwindle somewhat. And it was suggested by my brother-in-law and my sister Iris, God rest her soul, that it was my niece, my sister's daughter, Barbara Hart, Pam, would come and stay with Mother during the week, take some computer courses until she could get her degree. And it worked out fine. And then I would take a weekend to relieve her. My sister Barbara and then my brother-in-law Iris would all take a weekend to stay with her so Pam could get some time alone. And so this went on for a number of years until Pam got her degree and she had to go on and other things. So then we had to make that decision about Mother's mental capabilities and things like that were dwindling. Her health was dwindling. And so we finally made the decision to put her in assisted living, which we chose the one on Rosemont in Virginia Beach, which was real close to my sister Iris and her husband and Barbara. And so we took her TV, her photographs. It was a private room, and made her room look just like the one when she was living there at the house. And on weekends, Doris and I would go up most time early mornings and to visit for 2 or 3 hours. If we got there at breakfast, there was a table with Mother and 3 other ladies, and sometimes we would just sit there and listen to them talk, but we would join in, and they seemed to get along real well. If we got there after breakfast, sometimes Mother would be sitting in another table playing cards, or we'll be playing domino. She loved both of those games. Other times she'd be in the lobby watching TV, and sometimes she'd be in the room. So Doris was nice enough to go with me on Saturdays, and this went on for a number of years until finally got to the point where she couldn't take care of herself anymore. So we had to move her to a nursing home, which was right next door. And so she had 24-hour care at that point. And until finally one morning about 5:30, I got a call from my sister Iris and said that I needed to be prepared, maybe that she had been moved to the hospital, that maybe I should be preparing myself, and but I didn't have to do anything right away anyway. Within an hour, I got another call and said I needed to come on over to Lee Memorial. So I did, and when I got there, some of the family was there and some cousins, and I went up to my mother, and I obviously asked her how she was doing, but she was so weak, she couldn't even talk. So I grabbed her hand, and I told her that I loved her. And I felt a little squeeze, and I could see in her eyes that she was telling me she loved me back. And let's see, the date. She was only there probably a couple of nights after that. But anyway, finally on March 14th, 2010, almost exactly 17 years after my dad had passed away, she was at 89, she passed away. The good Lord finally called my mother and said, Norma, it's time for you to join me in heaven. And when her spirit was called to be with the Lord, I kind of thought back on that calm day with my Uncle Ralph on the boat, calm waters, seagulls, birds flying, just so peaceful and serene. And that's the way I imagine my mother's spirit going up to meeting with the Lord. And now, and yet on certain days in the summer, on hot days, you look out in the clouds there in the sky, and you hear a little rumble. Now, I don't know if there's fishing in heaven or not, but I like to think that that's not thunder. But it's my mother on a lake in heaven somewhere with her cane pole frapping the water, saying, Randy, don't mourn for me. I'm in heaven, and I'm doing one of the things I like to do best. I'm fishing. And I'm going to end with back when Jesus started his ministry, and on the day when he was on the shore of Sea of Galilee, and Peter was out mending his nets, and he called out to Peter, are there any fish? And he said, no, I haven't caught fish in days. So he waded out to Peter, got in the boat. He said, well, let's go fishing. And so he said, you're wasting your time, but we'll go. And Peter threw the net, and Jesus just gently stroked the water, and all of a sudden his nets were full of fish. And he caught so many he couldn't fill his boat anymore. And that's when he said those famous words, follow me and I'll make you a fisher of men. And that's what he asks us to do today. And we can do it two ways. We can sit on the shoreline or in a boat with a cork and a bait over and waiting for someone to come up and ask us about Jesus. Or we can take a pole and frap the water and say, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and come and I will tell you about Jesus. And so Jesus wants us to be a fisher of men. My mother was a fisher of me. Happy Mother's Day.